right, we are back with another Avalanche Builder Spotlight. It's a series where we are showcasing some of the top builders in the Avalanche ecosystem to hear about their experience, to hear about what they're building, the products that they're releasing into the industry, and how they are supporting the Avalanche growth and future overall. We just want to learn from these builders on what their experience has been like, what they recommend for others, and what their journey is like on Avalanche. So we're here today with Gauthier, who's from Suzaku, longtime builder in the Avalanche ecosystem, been a big time supporter, spoke on panels and at various conferences and Avalanche summits. So we're really excited to have him here and to hear about his journey and his experience. So Gauthier, do you want to give us a little bit of an intro on yourself and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. Super happy to be here. Always happy to share more about my experience. So personally, I have engineering background. So I'm French. Uh, Being born and raised in France. Engineering background. So engineering school here in Paris, and I worked first in consulting for kind of big ID firms. And I discovered blockchain in early 2021 through Avalanche actually. So a friend of mine kind of did the pre-sale and kind of introduced me to Avalanche shortly after it launched, and I'd kind of discovered this whole DeFi ecosystem unfold. It was really exciting to see all of that. And so at first I was kind of more of a speculation, but then quickly I entered into the architecture, how it works, and it really like spoke to me the way Avalanche is structured because of the multi-chain architecture. In my job actually, I was kind of working distributed systems already, so like the horizontal scaling really rang a bell to me. So I started doing some set projects on Avalanche, also trying to get some grants at the time. Didn't work out, but I kept on going. And basically, at some point, I kind of convinced my co-founder Leo who was a colleague of mine, like to join me and start a company, a project on in the Web3 space. And so this is when, yeah, basically we've co-founded a company based on a side project I actually initiated as part time before, and we started building our first project, Ash.
Well, excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, I think you've had an interesting journey with various different products you're working on and continuing trying to build and push through. And I think that's a just some great insight that you can share is just the ability to kind of pivot sometimes and find what the market needs and what the ecosystem needs. So why don't we kind of dive in, and why don't you tell us first a little bit about Suzaku and just what it is, what kind of features it offers, and kind of how it supports this like growing vision of the Avalanche network.
So yeah, maybe a bit step back. So in Avalanche, anyone can create their own blockchain for different use cases up there. So most of the options we see are kind of centered around an application that is kind of the core, and then you have an ecosystem built around that. Um, and this can range really from DeFi to infrastructure, gaming, and such. And all basically those people who are launching the blockchain will do it in the beginning kind of centralized. So you have multiple service providers that do that, can help you do that. Ava Cloud, of course. You have Vive, we have Ash as well, which is kind of our initial project that helps you bootstrap the blockchain. But basically, once you have the blockchain running, you have the project out, you kind of start attracting users and gaining, like, looking for product market fit. You are at some point going to ask yourself, how can I decentralize this network and bring in other people to run software, like to run the nodes actually of this blockchain and the validators, and on the other side, how I'm gonna keep this secure, right? Because I don't really know those people, maybe, so I need to make sure that this is secure. And basically, Suzaku helps those L1s decentralize the network. So on one side we have the L1s, on the other side we have the node operators that run the infrastructure, and on the last side we have the stakers who will secure, make sure that everything is secure. And Suzaku is really a protocol that connects all those different people, and it does that like in a permissionless fashion on the Avalanche C chain, really kind of building this marketplace of these different actors and making sure that everyone is receiving the rewards that they want to receive, or like properly incentivizing the contributors when it comes to L1s. And I also like to add that basically the concrete way it will appear to users basically is that Suzaku will become the staking layer of all those L1s basically. So on the staker side, they will stake the L1 tokens and eventually restake some assets for security. And this is basically, yeah, Suzaku will become the platform where all this staking can be implemented.
Awesome. Actually, a follow up to that. What have you seen so far in terms of, I guess, the types of projects or the types of partners that are really prime for a service like this that might be, finding their traction, already launched, and looking to get ways to support the expansion of the nodes they have on their network, or how they leverage their own token for staking and for security? What are the types of projects or partners that you're talking to that you kind of first found would be a good fit for this?
I would say like the first kind of the first to be to want to move fast on this part are probably the DeFi and infrastructure use like Deepin project that really want to put this decentralization and like this Web3 core ethos at the center of what they're proposing, like their value proposition. So yeah, them like DeFi infrastructure, and then shortly after, I guess gaming as well. So they kind of want the community to kind of own a piece of the architecture as well. But sometimes they kind of take a longer, let's say, journey to achieve that, because there are some projects where the decentralization is not kind of a part of the core offering, and this is where you will see kind of different ways to see things. And also why with Suzaku we try to adapt to the project at best as we can and allow them to start their decentralization journey without totally changing their whole L1. And for example, you can say, I will keep my 10 in-house nodes that are run by my team, but I will open up the network um, to maybe like 20% of the validation power, quote unquote, to my community. But basically, even if kind of they screw up, it won't impact my network. So I can start my journey, but kind of also change the way I move as we go and as I learn from this decentralization process.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I would imagine that there's, especially more so in the future, there's going to be a lot of teams or projects that aren't necessarily inherently Web3 native, that don't already have the technical prowess or the network of people to decentralize into many nodes quickly. So setting it up in a way where you can, almost slowly work your way towards greater and greater decentralization while still making sure everything operates correctly and the security is maintained. And it's almost like you don't want to jump into the deep end too fast, but having like an infrastructure partner that can help you scale at a certain pace, I think is pretty helpful.
Yeah, definitely something that kind of rings a bell to people that we talk to.
Great. Uh, so it's pretty clear that the offering and the product is going to be really useful, especially as the rapid expansion of more L1s come online. Um, what about that vision of the future of many Avalanche L1s that are all connected to the same network? What about that vision kind of excited you to bring this product to this network and to help support that growth?
Yeah, I think the way so yeah, the way Avalanche design is very flexible compared to other networks. Where, for example, if you compare it to Polkadot, if I were to only kind of compare to one, like on their side, they kind of by default have this sharing of security to all the different chains. So basically, when you launch your chain, you will, kind of inherit the security to some extent to of the primary network. Let's say on Avalanche, you actually have a primary network, but basically the L1 is really isolated from it in terms of security, in terms of the validators that run this network. which is great because it offers like a lot of flexibility, a lot more off scaling as well. And for example, you can choose to run your nodes only by the partners that like only in Europe, for example, in EU if you're regulated there. But on the other side, yeah, it makes it a bit harder to kind of you're kind of on your own when it comes to how I'm going to decentralize this thing. And this is what where we kind of found yeah a place where we could help actually those L1s, because we have been kind of we have been thinking about those problematics for a while. And also we have found like a lot of similarities with what happened in the Ethereum ecosystem like 2 years ago with the nascence of like the birth, sorry, of the restaking basically protocols, because they what they try to do is basically kind of the same thing. They have like the main chain, and they try to secure satellite services that offer that plug into this chain. um, and basically, we found that this would be a perfect fit for the Avalanche ecosystem, because we have this default use case for restaking, which is all those L1s that need security, but they might not be able to do it on their own. So we could reuse some of the security of the main chain to help them. And this is why we initially how we designed like Suzaku, inspired from this restaking protocol, but kind of expanding to everything staking. So we have, of course, like the first piece is like the liquid staking of the L1 asset. But if, for example, you're just launching, you have a token that is worth maybe, I don't know, 50, $100 million, but you have kind of big ambitions when it comes to reaching a big TVL, then you might say, okay, I will also use staked AVAX as my security and ask people to come up with 200 million extra security from AVAX, so that I'm sure that my network will first of all be secure enough, but also kind of appear secure enough for people who are used to kind of see big numbers in security from other chains. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it's a critical piece, because when you're talking about a new L1 spinning up, whether it's on its own or an Avalanche L1, a lot of the security in a lot of people's eyes is kind of denominated by the total, like, volume it would take to take a majority control of the network. And so if you have like a low number of nodes and you have like a newer token that is securing that network, you want to add other security measures from like a higher volume token, right? So that's where the restaking tokens come in. So
Mhm.
yeah, super valuable there. I wanted to kind of dig in a little bit more on just kind of your journey and your team's journey as builders, and to kind of go through some of the things that might be valuable insights for others to learn. So what has been like well, let's start off like what's been one of the more challenging aspects of being both a blockchain developer and also building on Avalanche.
So the first part, like about the blockchain developer side, I guess it's like Web3 crypto is a very noisy, volatile, also like cyclical space where a lot of narratives kind of pop up from anywhere, like from nowhere, and like kind of grab all the attention, and this can move very quickly. So like if you don't have kind of a persistence in what you're pursuing, you might end up like kind of losing your strengths, kind of like chasing new narratives and like repositioning yourself always. But it's also challenging to kind of gain enough conviction to kind of stay in your line, like keep going, because you know that what you're doing is right, but like the market is kind of shifting left and right every 2 weeks. So I think to counter that, like I would say, there are a lot of people in the space who are very accessible, which is also one good thing about this space, right? Everyone is on Telegram, on Twitter, so you can really kind of build a network of people who can advise you and make you kind of reflect on all that, like and like kind of reassure that you're on the good right track. So what this is, I guess, the most challenging part, of being a blockchain builder, is this constantly right evolving space, but also very like immature, where still, because we're still kind of first seeing the first uh let's say use cases like DeFi, Bitcoin maybe is one, but like a lot of people are still trying to find what they want to build actually. Like they are building things, they don't know if it's gonna work, and so it's still very experimental. Yeah, and now the second part of the question, which is the Avalanche side of things. I think the maybe yeah one of the biggest challenging challenges on Avalanche. It's not really specific to Avalanche. It's like just being on this, let's say like not the top three ecosystems. Like you have uh, Ethereum, you have Solana. So kind of those two are kind of and yeah separate from each other from the others, where the others will be ecosystems that are trying, always fighting for attention, like for to bring builders. And so you can feel that a bit when you go out and like try to raise funds or try to yeah bring people over to your application. Or and so this one is counterbalanced because Avalanche is very supportive. They have a lot of programs to support the builders. They have a lot of initiatives like the one I'm on right now, which help shout out to all the builders in the space who are enriching the ecosystem. Um, and I think this also comes down to what I was saying before, actually, which is like in the end, I'm pretty convinced that Avalanche will work out. So I just have to kind of persevere in my journey there, and eventually people will notice that Avalanche is not like another ecosystem that maybe today is here at the same kind of level, whatever you want to like, however you want to kind of measure both ecosystems. But maybe in 2 or 3 years Avalanche will still be here, and this ecosystem will have gone down 20 ranks on DeFi Llama because the hype is gone. And we have seen this recently with like some new chains who launched very hyped. They climbed fifth, and then now they're like 20th. Always kind of keeping the faith in what you're building, like in what you chose as an ecosystem to build.
Yeah, that's something that we're all fighting together is the kind of the underdog a little bit, but also just staying the course. I think the unique thing about the vision of Avalanche and where we're going is it's very much a long term vision. We're very much looking at things of how this technology is going to support almost any industry in the future. And that's why the vision for a network of L1s is super important. The vision for really high performant chains is super important. So yeah, we're all kind of going through that journey together in terms of yeah, you're going out there and you're not like part of maybe the biggest ecosystem yet, but there are benefits to it. You just kind of stay the course. So yeah, definitely appreciated there. I do actually want to build on one thing you were kind of touching on, and we haven't talked about it yet, but you and are a alumni of Codebase, which is the official incubator program for Avalanche. Can you tell me a little bit about what you liked about that program and how maybe it benefited the continuous building for you and your team?
Absolutely. So we were part of the first cohort of Codebase. So it was a lot of teams. So it was like 15 teams. And I think, they kind of reduced it to five because it was a lot of work for the Avalabs team, I know. And so we were like the initial core, but even that, I think like program is still, evolving because it's a pretty recent program. I'm pretty sure it's already better now than it was when I started, but very insightful because it's what is good is that it's pretty short. So you really have continuous touch points with the Avalabs team, and like they can connect you with the right mentors to address all the specific topics that I have laid out for this 12 weeks, I think it is. And so I think it's pretty effective in the terms of what you will learn, and what resources they can put available to you. Of course, one of the good thing as well is that there is this kind of startup competition at the end that can really put the spotlight on your project, and like bring some VCs or community to kind of know about what you're building. So yeah, super positive um, experience overall. I think like maybe the most I took out of it was probably kind of my relationship building with like the Avalanche team and Avalanche Foundation team. I got to know a lot of people there, and it's still valuable today. Right? It's always important to have a real connection with people that you want to work with. Helps in moving forward.
Yeah, it was. So obviously, it was great to have you as part of the first cohort. It's the program's obviously changed since then in terms of number of teams and kind of certain focus areas and what time the breadth, the different types of teams that are brought on board. But it's really growing as a great piece for builders at a certain stage that are really trying to take their project to the next level. And yeah, we're excited to continue to welcome more teams in the ecosystem through that program. Uh, and it's great to have kind of insights and experiences from people like yourself to push that program forward. So I'm really excited for that. So let's jump into the last question we have here, which is as a builder, we've talked a little bit about the things that you've had to overcome, kind of the different touch points in your journey and what you're really striving for. And I think that's going to be super helpful for other builders who are just getting started. They might just be reading the documentation for the first time. They might just be watching a tutorial video for their first time. And what you can build on Avalanche is very vast, right? That you can almost it's almost like you could do anything you want, whether it's a fully customized L1 or tooling for the network or an app on the C chain. So there's a lot of opportunities for builders to come into the ecosystem. What's one piece of advice? And it could be more than one, but like if you were to give advice to someone starting their Avalanche journey where they are really kind of starting to dive into how are things done, where could they get started? What's some advice that you would give to some early stage Avalanche builders?
Yeah. So in terms of really the building side of things, like the tech stack, there is the Builder Hub, I think like it's called. Well, there is like this build.avalanche.network that is great to get started. It has been improved a lot. I mean, I have seen the very first version, and from where we are now is amazing. Um, and before that, actually, there is also on this, I think, on the same website, a link to the academy. And really, if you kind of jump in for the first time into blockchain or into Avalanche, I think the Avalanche Academy is a great place to start to learn everything about blockchains, about the different problematics and like the key um, architectural, let's say, decisions you'll have to make for your projects, whether it makes sense or not to make an L1, because actually, you don't necessarily need an L1 for your for an app, right? Um, at some point, you might need one, but you can start off on the C chain, for example. And so there are some like also some pretty cool like pieces of technology that have been released recently, like the ERC20, which is like encrypting everything that happens around a token, whether it's balances or transfer amounts. And I think they have right now a competition online about that. So there are also like a lot of online initiatives to actually get people excited about some new pieces of technologies that they put out, that Ava Labs or ecosystem member put out, and so you can keep an eye out on those to get started as well. Winning a small prize is always a good way to get started. There's also like a lot of different channels that you can reach out to the team, and they have a pretty good developer relations team that can help you. Finally, yeah, when it comes to kind of building your project, I think don't be afraid to kind of reach out to the team, whether it's DevRel or like BD team. They are very keen to learning on what you're building, and I think like the sooner you kind of get to in touch with either Ava Labs, Avalanche Foundation, or even like key members of the ecosystem, the better it is for you and your idea to take shape, because the first version you have of your idea is never the last one, and you always benefit from people kind of reflecting on what you're building and challenging you, and you can really benefit from Web3 being so open and so fluid when it comes to communication, right? So this is something that I would do early on, and that as much as possible.
Yeah, really good advice. It's super helpful in terms of approach that you can take. I love how even throughout our conversation, a lot of the approach that you've taken, and I think would be really helpful for anybody coming into Avalanche, is just to tap into the ecosystem. I think we have one of the strongest kind of supportive groups of builders who not only are building their own projects, but are happy to support, and lots of inter-project integrations, and different projects helping the tech move along. You mentioned the EERC kind of privacy tokens that that the Advocacy team and stuff developed. I've already seen so many ways that ecosystem projects are kind of taking that initial primitive and expanding upon it, um, whether it be a meme coin like Ket, like using the technology, or the bounties that people are offering to so that companies can use this token standard for their payroll, and other just ways to try it out. It's not just release this feature or product and see what happens. It's everybody's jumping on it to help kind of usher it along together. And I think that's just a kind of a way that the Avalanche ecosystem stands out. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's very prevalent, and I think a lot of us see that. So um, yeah, great. Thank you so much for joining us on this Builder Spotlight edition, and really excited to continue to see your progress and the journey of Suzaku, and supporting the ever expanding many chains that feel like one. And I think we're really seeing the vision start to come to life post the upgrade last year, and all these other kind of really essential primitives that are being built, so all these things can connect and be secure and be highly performant. So yeah, excited to have you. So anything else you want to share where people can kind of follow your journey as we wrap up the conversation today?
Thanks a lot for having me. Always happy to share all that. And so yeah, when we're talking about getting in touch with the ecosystem, I'm accessible on X at it's Nutty Moon, so NUTYMOON. But I'm always happy to help out builders entering the ecosystem. And then Suzaku, of course, you can follow Suzaku at Suzaku Network on X. And right now we have, an incentives program, like a points program, where you can kind of get familiar with the protocol and get ready to, all those L1s that are going to launch by providing security. And yeah, we are also kind of moving towards our TG. Cannot say much more than just that we are gearing up for that. Um, and yeah, like when you said about L1s, like I think I'm also agreeing that is taking life, coming up to life. I think end of this year will be very interesting to keep an eye on. Yeah, like the Avalanche ecosystem and all the L1s that are gonna actually launch probably Q3 or Q4 of this year. It's gonna be great.
All right. Well, stay tuned for more from Avalanche and Suzaku for sure. So thank you so much.